Hi boys and girls, it's Mrs. Ryan here. Today we are going to review pictographs or pictographs. So you can see on this chart here, we have a pictograph that is titled Bake Sale. So remember boys and girls, the one thing when we have a pictograph that they're using pictures to represent the total amount of things. And so it's always really important if you see a pictograph that you need to pay attention to the key. And there's always going to be a key on a pictograph, and it's going to tell you what the value or what each picture is worth. So if you look at the bottom underneath your pictograph, you see the word key right here, and it says that each picture of a slice of, looks like cake, would be equal to 8 items. So one of the things that I think about is it's kind of hard to sometimes skip count by 8 because we're going to have to count every single one of them as a value of 8. So remember that we can also create a T-chart. So you've probably been taught this by your teachers, that we can write a little chart. See, it looks like a big T. It's kind of like making our own little multiplication chart, but just for skip counting 8s or counting groups of 8. So I'm going to take a minute and we're going to fill out this chart and we're going to make this ourselves. So 1 times 8 is 8. 2 times 8, so that's 8 plus 8 more is 16. 3 groups of 8 is 24, and I know that because I'm counting by 8 every time. 16 plus 8 more is 24. 4 groups of 8 is 32. 5 groups of 8 is 40, and 6 groups of 8 is 48. All right, so now let's take a look at each of our kinds of items that are in our bake sale. So I notice I'm going to look at the bottom of my chart. I have cookies. Oops, let's try that again. Let's make that a highlight. I have cookies, I have cake, I have pies, and I have cupcakes. So let's look at the cookies first and find the total value of cookies, how many cookies we had. So I see 2 pictures, and each picture is worth 8. So 2 times 8, remember boys and girls, over here on our chart, 2 groups of 8 is 16. So I'm going to label my cookies as 16. And then we're going to look at our next item, our cakes, and I see I have 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 groups of 8 is 32. I can look back at my T-chart that I made, and so I'm going to label that 32. Okay, it's kind of hard to make a 3 with this, but here we go. For pies, I have 1, 2, 3 pictures of pies, and I can look at my T-chart because I've already done that work, and I have 3 groups of 8 is 24. So for pies, we have 24 pies. And then for cupcakes, I can count each one of those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And on my chart, I have 6 groups of 8 is 48. And I'm going to write that right next to that because I can see that a little bit better. So now we've identified the values and the total for each kind of item in our bake sale, and we can start using that information to answer some of these questions down underneath it. So looking at the first question, it says, how many more cakes were sold than pies? How many cakes, how many more cakes than pies? So that's a comparison statement, boys and girls, and we know when we are comparing things that to compare we use subtraction. When we're comparing, we're looking to see how are they different, and the difference is a subtraction problem. So that's how I know I'm going to be using subtraction. So I'm going to look at my chart and I'm going to find cakes. So up here I can see that cakes, I had 32 of them. So I'm going to go over to this side over here and I'm going to do my subtraction here. So I have 32 cakes and I'm going to compare it with pies. And so for pies I had 24. So 32 minus 24. So let's start in the ones place. 2 take away 4. Well, I don't have enough. I only have 2. I can't take 4 away from 2. So I'm going to go to the tens place and get a group of 10, which will leave me 2 10s there. And now I have 12 in the ones place. 12 take away 4, I know is 8, and I could count back from 12. 11, 10, 9, 8. So I counted back 4 times, and I have 8. So how many more cakes were sold than pies? There were 8 more cakes than pies, and I can put an 8 right there for my answer. All right, let's look at question number 2. It says, how many baked goods were sold in all? So let's look at this. How many baked goods? Well, all of the items on my pictograph were all baked goods. The cookies, the cake, the pies, and the cupcakes. And it's telling me that it wants to know how many were sold in all. And I know that I'm trying to find the total of all of them. So I have to use addition. So now I'm going to take all of my numbers from my chart and I'm going to add them all together. So let's see, I have 16 cookies. I had 32 cake. I had 24 pies, and I have 48 cupcakes. So I'm just going to stack them up and use a standard algorithm to add the ones place and then the tens place. So I can look at my ones place. I see a 6 and a 4. Well, I remember that 6 plus 4 is 10. So that helps me. And then I can add 10 plus 8. Well, that's 18. And 18 plus 2 more is 20. So I know that that is 20. So I'm going to regroup that. And so now I can add my tens place. 2 plus 1 is 3. 3 plus 3 is 6. 6 plus 2 is 8. 8 plus 4 is 12. So all together, I have 120 baked goods that were sold in all. 120 for my answer. All right, let's look at that last question. And it is asking how many cookies and pies were sold. So this time it just wants to know the cookies and the pie. So let me see. Let me find cookies. Here's cookies and pie. Cookies and pies. How many cookies and pies? And here's my pie right there. So I'm going to add 16 plus 24. So I'm going to come back over here to this blue space. 16 cookies. I could even put a C right there and label that. Plus 24 pies. I can use a P to label my pies. Well, okay, boys and girls, we're going to pick up where we left off. Miss Ryan had to fix a little mistake and then continue this video. So we're looking at this third question, how many cookies and pies were sold? And again, we had 16 cookies, and we labeled that with a C for cookies. And we had 24 pies that were sold, and we want to know how many were sold. So we know that we're going to add because we're putting those together. And so I can look at my equation and look at my ones place first. 6 ones plus 4 more ones is 10. So I'm going to regroup that group of 10 to the tens place, and then I'm going to add my tens column. 1 10 plus another 10 is 2. 2 tens plus 2 more tens is 40. All right, boys and girls, so we had a total of 40 cookies and pies that were sold at our bake sale. So boys and girls, remember the most important thing for a pictograph is that you look for and you find that key and you find the rule or the pattern that you're going to be counting. What is the value of each picture in my pictograph? Have a great day, Tigers, and I hope that this was helpful to you, and Miss Ryan will see you later. Bye.